Well, good evening, everybody. I'm a little bit early, but excuse me. I want to do this video because we have Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre going at it today on unclaimed Canadians, those who pass away, and there's nobody to claim them. There's nobody there who can pay their funeral costs. Now, Pierre Poilievre says that's all Justin Trudeau. It's got nothing to do with him. This is all because of Justin Trudeau from 2015 to 2024. Well, folks, I'm a stats guy. I go through it and it just jumps right out. The exact same story as Justin Trudeau and released provincial records. So just so everybody knows, your statistics provincially are held by the Crown Premiers. You can get all the data on all those who die in the provinces and territories. Big statistics. Now, Statistics Canada, yes, every 5 years they go through a census and they do that. But annually, that's how accurate the provincial records are annually. And largely why? Because of property taxes. All property nearly goes through for Canadian subjects and First Peoples who leave the reserve. All your statistics go through the provincial crown or territorial crown, and they want their property taxes, they want their school fees, they want their health care premiums or their health care taxes and fees assigned to you. Largely, a lot of that's been now popped onto your property taxes. So death taxes are big too, because there's a whole other avenue of taxation after you pass that's held by the provincial government. So when it comes to the statistics, provincially, it's annual, it's deadly accurate. They go through all your states, which again is provincial. It's provincial and territorial. It's all found in Section 92 and then some. Goes way beyond that. In fact, I believe it goes up to Section 113. No one will ever talk about this stuff. Just like the Consolidated Fund, where guess who was the president of the Treasury Board in the years absolutely start to the impending doom on all of us, the death dealers. It was, in fact, 110% Pierre Poilievre. He was the president of the Treasury Board. And in that power, you watch him change just how much funding and transfers goes back to the provinces. Now, here's the funny part. During Justin Trudeau's time, yes, you see more than tripling of Stephen Harper's time with the subsequent Treasury president for Justin Trudeau. And in fact, you watch, it's the eastern provinces who take the blunt of the costs so that people can't afford funerals. You can look at it from the Consolidated Fund. I put a link, or I'm going to put a link after this. It's right before I made this video, just on Pierre Poilievre's, because he's going at Justin Trudeau today on all the same statistics that were published on him. Same story. You can all Google search it. Today's story that Pierre Poilievre highlights, he's there too. Did you know all the Western provinces under Pierre Poilievre's time as the president of the Treasury Board watched all their unclaimed deaths? Double. Now it's on Ontario and Quebec, largely beyond the West since Justin Trudeau. It's like a tit for tat. In some respects, you're buying votes from key demographics. In others, where the numbers aren't important, i.e. deceased, you'll see different left and right play to different avenues of the population. It's crazy. It's cockamamie. These are death dealers, Canadians. This is all First Peoples, all Canadian citizens that are actually subjects, and First Peoples are defined as savages. I didn't make this stuff up. This is all logged in all of their records. If it's liberal or conservative, they've logged all these terms, and you will find them in your constitutional acts. You will find them in the Indian Act 1876. Since 1867 for the Constitution, for all of you, the subjects, and you watch them utilize their power out of Section 91 in the Treasury Board in their defined transfers over the provinces and territories, and you'll watch them suck out the money. In the link I'm going to attach, it goes into Stornoway, where Pierre lives. He lives there. A massive mansion. Do you know how much it costs you taxpayers? It costs you about 12 funerals a year, 12 Canadian funerals a year, really nice funerals a year to run his estate. Did you know that? Canadians, I'm going to ask you, and I do have some pretty wealthy Canadians on my Facebook, actually, and I know they have even classier places than Pierre Poilievre in Stornoway, the Crown Mansion for His Majesty's official opposition. You should all look it up, and you'll see the link right before this video and actually after it. Again, I'm going to put it in, and I copied it and I forgot to do that, but it's important that you all look at it. So Stornoway costs $70,000 to maintain a year. I don't know any Canadians, unless you're doing massive renovations, that have costs of maintenance of their place at $70,000 a year. Never mind how much it costs for that driver, 2 drivers in fact, a house manager, the housekeeper, the nannies. This guy's living a rock star's lifestyle, more than a rock star, more than the highest Hollywood celebrities. I mean, I think with Mike Tyson at one point with his entourage, we might weigh it up there, but I mean, $300 million a year at one point was Tyson's life, and of course it wasn't feasible or manageable. Canadians, I bring you this, First Peoples, I bring you to this, because these are important stats. They're real, credible, verifiable. In the link that will be attached to this video, that showcases to all of you all of Pierre Poilievre's time on this file. The exact same as Justin Trudeau, except for it's the West that goes through these high mortality rates of unclaimed Canadians, meaning no one can afford to pay for their funeral. You end up in a cold storage in some government facility at the taxpayer's expense, and good luck finding that person that's filed away. You're a number. Kind of like what concentration camps do. That's where the Crown is. They've got so much Crown land, and you have such little amounts of private property, that funeral costs grow. And it grows with immigration, which is what I'm going to get into. And it's at this point, before I continue, because there's a religion here, organized religion, and I want to do that as we go from the death dealers, these Crown socialist fascists, left, right, center, Canadians, First Peoples. It doesn't matter who we look at. They're all guilty of the same crimes. Pick your section of Canada, East, West, Central, the Upper, Lower Canada. Pick whichever one you want. You'll find they're all guilty of the same horrific human crimes against humanity, really, as superior human beings, as they are defined in the Constitutional Acts of Canada. All the Crown positions are there. Yes, for First Peoples, you have leadership in Crown positions too, all through that same model, because we're a constitutional monarchy. Now, folks, I've had some comments. My friend Monica, this is really for you. I don't know if she's there watching tonight or not, but I'll probably put one comment down after I add the link, and I'll tag her. And she's not the only one. I've heard this lots lots of people talking about Muslims. They're always like, oh, they bring their culture, their religion, and their way of things, and we don't like it. Folks, I'm going to get into right now 3 organized religions that everyone's very familiar with. It's not the end-all and be-all, but they're big ones. They're doozies because they all have the same sickness. And I want to get into this. I want to get into this because it wasn't always the way. When we talk about Catholics, Muslims, Judaists, it wasn't always the way of a church under state. Now, you have to understand, when I say Canada, the socialist fascist state, one instrument of this fascist, when they're holding the socialist power, where they're getting all the benefits of socialism, one of their greatest weapons created by constitutional monarchies who are very old, very, very old, much older than the American system by thousands of years, much older than the Russian system by thousands of years. They've gotten really good at perfecting it, really good at bamboozling people. So I want to go slowly through this. Again, Catholicism wasn't always what I'm going to explain to everybody it is now today. The whole Islamic State wasn't always the way it was. Muslims were not always that way. Judaists were not always that way. These are relatively, in the thousands of years spectrum, new developments. And there's some pretty big ones. You all know about the American Revolution. These are real, credible facts that nobody can dispute. There's no expert out there who's going to come forward who's credited, is going to go, oh, geez, he just lied to you, or that's not true. I have thousands and thousands of the greatest researchers, files of actually published because they are credible, historically accurate, legally accurate, governmental statistically accurate, and so they get published and they get credited throughout many, many countries in the world, many, many more countries in a massive majority. So, right, folks, if something is historically written and mega countries accept that, but yours doesn't, and your country's in some kind of super minority, or they're censoring or withholding it from you, or these publications aren't available in Canada, that should tell you that if I can find them in mass amounts of countries, but I can't get them in Canada, they're easily found in the United States of America or the Russian Federation, or both. Most of them are both, but yet I can't get it in Canada. That should alarm you, folks. That should scare you. So what am I talking about here? A lot of Canadians are going off about Muslims. And Monica, I know what you're trying to say, but I want you to really understand this. A lot of friends and followers understand this. The Islamic State is church under state. It was developed. Are you ready for this? You've heard, I told you about the American Revolution. American Revolution, not Catholics, not Muslims, and certainly not Judaists were involved in the American Revolution. Not in any kind of minority of numbers. Those religions weren't there. Know why? Because they don't revolt. Historically. French Revolution. Don't worry, I'm going to get into Islam in a minute. This is the lead up to it. The French Revolution. Okay? Like America's, sort of. But a key player came on board out of that born republic by a people's revolution. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte. He changed Catholicism in France forever. Forever. Church under state. It was the weapon of Napoleon Bonaparte. He changed Catholicism after the French Revolution, shortly thereafter, and attempted to use it as church under state to control the masses and take away all their rights and freedoms. Put them under Napoleonic civil code. And had a same system, folks, for 15 years as all the Islamic states. Even a percentage of what you earn goes to the church. That was his devil's deal. It wasn't the first time it was done in history, but it was Napoleon's way to control the people. And it took, and that's why I'm leading up to the Islamic world and the taking of all these African countries throughout the Middle East and where it came from. Napoleonic civil code. Why? France is a civil law socialist. Quebec is basically a civil law socialist in Canada, even though we're a different whole legal system here. We're common law. Doesn't matter, because we are church under state too. The politicians have done that too, used the same weapons. They use all the weapons. They use them all. The Judaists, the Catholics, and the Muslims. So we will never ever be anything like something like the French Revolution or something like the American Revolution. Not going to happen. You don't see God in our text. The only time you see it is in reference to church under state, and that's Doctrine and Discovery, or in other respects, minor. When you go to the Atlantic provinces, you'll see the Papal Bull, and that's the Spanish side of it. And, it will be good in the years to come when I start writing about Newfoundland. I should write about Newfoundland much more than I do. Some parts of New Brunswick, especially when you get into the Acadians. There's a whole other file on that and how they were chased out of Canada. There is an important video to do for Atlantic Canadians on that, and I do want to do that, but I want to try and keep it to this video as it is so people understand. Your Canadian government, left, right, center, doesn't matter. That's Conservative, Liberal, NDP, Green, People's Party of Canada, Bloc, and we can go on, folks. I know there's more parties than that. They're not the Communist Party isn't really communist in Canada. They're socialist and fascist. They can tell that lie, but they're going to run in the monarchical system, which is not communism. So the Marxist, Leninist parties, all of them, all of our provincial parties are exactly the same. They use this power of church under state. Now, they don't have one religion. They've gotten really smart. Remember, this is the British Empire's jewel of socialist, fascist, divine human beings over subjects and a savage class structured. They came up with the idea that, you know what? We'll divide all them, the masses, so that something like America or the French Revolution or the Russian Revolution, Russia went through this too, just so everybody knows, Russia's revolution, I'll tell you right now, wasn't Catholics, wasn't Muslims, wasn't Judaists. We can get into all, I'm just being honest here. You go look it up for yourself. You'll find out I'm telling the truth. Eastern Orthodox. Yeah. Those religions like the U.S. and the Protestants, and there's others, certainly not Anglican, which is the newest crafted church under state, literally, figuratively, and absolutely. That's true. And there's branches in Canada off that. We can get into the Christian. But what I need Canadians and First Peoples to understand, your mass immigration targets all of those places around the world. And in a minute, you're going to click. You're going to click in your head and you go, yeah, that's true. No matter what they say. That these politicians got smart just a few decades ago. We need people from all of like-minded states, church under state, Napoleonic kind of style stuff. It flies well in Quebec. It'll fly well around in the rest of Canada because these religions are. And they were transformed. They were transformed by emperors, by kings, people like Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Go look it up. Emperor Edward VII. We can go on to all these lunatics who wasted human life and divided people by utilizing church under state, meaning God empowered them. They're somehow from God, chosen to rule you all, And you should be happy way down here. If you ever want to see a visual representation of this in Canada, it used to be your parliament. They tore all that down. Trudeau did that. Justin Trudeau. Hide, hide, hide. Quebec's proud of it. They still got their Parliament of Quebec right in Quebec City. If you've never been there, you want to puke, First Peoples or Canadians, the subjects, you're there. And they put you way down here as the gods, hand the swords of justice to all your greatest Canadian heroes of colonialism. And it goes down, and then you see the churches there. Then you see all of you, the lowly, shitty subjects, begging from the priest, and the politicians are tied to him. They got the statues in order all the way up the backside of the Parliament. This was the Parliament of Canada too. You had Queen Victoria on a giant black throne, all in black. She's still there, but overseeing all of her tiers and levels all over the Parliament building, which they put under construction for many years as I was doing my tour. And of course, you're not allowed to see it. Caught many other things, and I did catch Quebec City. But folks, the mass immigration targets all of those under those colonial designs of church under state. Great men like Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, who created the Islamic State. He created it. He is the template for all of that, which is the Islamic State. You think Canada wants to throw that away? Nope, come here. You'll be good subjects. You won't even blink an eye. You'll fit in real well in Canada. And sadly, Canadians, you don't see it like I didn't see it because I'm behind the bars. You're behind the bars and you don't know because you were born that way. Oh, it's a prison. Well, what's that? I live in one, but I was born in one, so who really knows, right? But that is how they control us. That's how they get you not to revolt, follow along, trust your government, pay your super high taxes. It's all over these style governments all over the world. We can blame Muslims, we can blame Jews, and you can let your government turn around and say to you, oh, you're anti-Semitic, and then criticize them like we see with Palestine and all these things. And really, it's turning religions against each other to keep subjects as subjects divided. While the government gets stronger, richer, wealthier, while you get more debt financed, you get more food insecure, more housing insecure, and you get to a point where you can't even save up $12,000 for a fellow family member's funeral. That's how bad it gets in Canada now. And it's growing by astronomical numbers. It's funny that Pierre highlights that when he was guilty of the exact same measurement stick. Just like Stephen Harper doubled the debt of all prime ministers before him, well, that's our death rates of unclaimed Canadians. And he says, oh, look at Trudeau. He's doubly worse than I ever was. You were doubly worse than everyone before you. And it was really bad out west. Go look at the numbers. Can't make it up. It's important for people to understand these concepts. It's an important video to get out there. It's important for people to share. Does it hurt feelings? Does it offend people? Probably. But I promise you, the world of academia, in massive majority, in real historical writings and teachings, will showcase this to you. It's just not made readily available in Canada. They tell you, you want to learn that? You're going to go to a special school where you got to pay a big tuition to learn it. I'm fortunate. Those doors have opened up to me. I use them. I like the knowledge. I like learning. I like having access to so many universities throughout the world where things are logged, real, credible, verifiable, done by doctorates who spend a lifetime learning that stuff. And I love to read it all. I love to see it. I love to look at the fact that this guy was published 28,000 times, and then some hillbilly Canadian politician who's so great and wonderful has never been published ever. Who are you going to believe? The guy who's been published all over the world and spent a lifetime learning this stuff? Or your crusty politician who lives in a mansion? Oh, we're not going to talk about all my numbers. We're going to talk about his numbers. But don't worry about mine. There's the exact same news story about me in 2014. Oh, I was the president of the Treasury Board. I'm the one who locked out the consolidated funds. I'm the one who stripped the people who got taxed more, paid more fees, lost businesses, and went belly up there so I could win the votes here. And then that didn't work. I lost to Justin Trudeau because I gave away the people I promised everything to. And we cheer these people on, and now here it is 10 years later, like something's going to change. Pierre Poilievre is going to double everything Trudeau did, just like his predecessors before him, predecessors before that. Canadians can find all this stuff. I find it very easy. It's logged, really easily found, and somehow Canadians say, it's okay to tax me without any representation. It's okay for me to pay just like an Islamic state would, in the same kind of socialism, in the same style of church under state where I worship my politicians. I trust them wholeheartedly, whichever party, even though I don't know these people. I let them throw massive taxation on me. They're good, I'm bad. They cheat, lie, steal from me. That's okay. I'll just vote them out in 4 years and get the next lying, cheating thief. Folks, there's a lot of information in this video. There's a lot for people to research and a lot for people to know. Canada only brings in immigrants that match the Canadian populace to turn them against each other. You're all in a version of church under state. If you haven't researched Napoleon Bonaparte, don't go watch the Hollywood movie. Don't watch that. Read the real story of him. Start with Napoleon Bonaparte and Catholicism. Then after that, go on to Napoleon Bonaparte and the Islamic State. That's not some old phenomenon for thousands. That's just a recent development. Same with the new Catholic system. Beyond doctrine of discovery and papal bull. We're talking 1550 onward, folks. Papal bull, we can go a little earlier with the Spanish and Portuguese, 1490s. But look at it. Look at it as it really is. And we're not talking about the time of Jesus or before that with Moses. Look at Judaism well after New Testament. And look what happened to it. Look at the British Empire, the kingdoms, the Ottoman Empire, and look at where Judaism now as church under state. Look at the effects on the United States of America. By who? The United Kingdom, the British Empire of old, and that crown side, because it always goes back to the crown. 9 kingdoms. You'll find them all. All. British was just a real big one, a real ugly one that made Canada. I focus on it a lot because it's what I am, where I am, and what I was born into. But it doesn't mean I don't go out there and look at all the others. And it doesn't mean I don't understand that all the immigration brought here is to fit into this crusty system, to keep it going as a pyramid scheme, and we're all on the bottom. And they divide you up with all these religions. They love it. And I promised you proof. If you don't believe me, just go look at how diversity, equity, inclusion, markers of crown, a corruption of America from Canada. Look at Canada's parliamentary structures under both parties. You'll find it all there. Oath-bound and sworn Judaists, Muslims, Catholics, in plenty, because they know they're broken. And it's not what we read in our Bibles, just like it's not what we read in the Quran. There's people who figured this stuff out that aren't really here anymore. Malcolm X, excellent example. And it seems as though when he came around, understood America, understood where he had gone wrong, because again, the bars are in front of you. You were born into it, you walked into it, but once you had traveled and seen the light and got educated, then you saw that he changed. We learn, we grow, we change, we share that information. It's only when all Canadians, all First Peoples, can come together as one, can we defeat the Crown and break a 5,000-year-old system that is full of inhumanity, disgust, crime, most atrocities the world's ever seen. You want to see an end to that? You want to see an end to things like Ukraine, Palestine, Iran, and we can go on and on, all the very dirty, filthy history of Canada alive and even well today. You want to end all that and have a great world where we're all sovereign, we the people have a say, we get to pursue life, liberty, and happiness without being treated on by our government. It's when we can all come together and start seeing things for what they are, that we're the ones who are in the prison and we're holding on to the bars. And they only bring in people who come from the exact same prisons we're in here. And then they know, like anyone who's ever been to prison, you start mixing, matching, you get your little gang wars, and the people running the prison are the big winners, and they're the ones who laugh. Let them take it out on each other. Don't let them organize against us, right? That's how it works. That's what Canada is. That's what makes it successful for them, not you. And if you ever want to know why it's not successful for you, you have a 416% debt to GDP ratio. Household, corporate, public. But guess what? As defined subjects and savages, the Indian Act peoples, and those under the Constitution who are not listed in Crown positions, you all hold the bag. They get 90% of the lands of Canada. You get 9%. You're responsible for the resource harvesting and damages. You pay for the cleanup. You pay for the costs. They get all the perks of socialism. You get all the debts, liabilities, responsibilities. You take all the debts in Canada. People file bankruptcy, whether it's corporate, personal, or private. We all eat it equally. We all eat it. And then they just say, well, jack up taxes, borrow more money against them, immigrate more people to get the numbers higher so we can even borrow more from foreign powers, largely in our circle of 9 kingdoms, where all those few get stinkily rich and you all get filthily poor. The time of blaming this group, this religion, that religion has to end. And people need to see it for what it is. The evil's right in front of you. It's your government and the system that is Canada. We have to destroy the Crown. I hope that video goes well. I'll post the links. You can all go look at this exact same story that Pierre Poilievre's highlighting on Trudeau, and you're going to highlight it on him. And remember, he was the president of the Treasury Board. He's the one who started this avalanche that keeps rolling and spiraling. This was Canada before, steadily going up since 71. And of course, there's other factors that lead to that, inflation being the big one after we lost the gold standard. But then came the epic borrowing, the epic immigration beyond all reason. That largely starts with Pierre Poilievre, 2008. Can't make it up. These are real numbers. Same Trudeau story, same story for Pierre Poilievre. And he was the president of the Treasury Board. He's the one who changed that for the Consolidated Fund. God bless everybody. Take care. Share, share, share. Real, credible, verifiable. Again, look at these parties. Look at all the religious groups that are in their parties, the faces of your MPs whom got elected. These same organized religions who never, in history, never revolt, never disobey, pay the largest taxes with the most abuse of those subject classes ever in world history. All of them. Oh, you know the Old Testament stories of the Jewish suffering in Egypt. You should know all the Christian persecutions by governments and just how bad it has got in the Dark Ages for Catholics. And now the Islamist states. Come on, folks. Got a coinky-dink here? Oh, yeah. They're all churches who went under state and have remained that way. And we're living it. Not 2,000 years ago, not 4,000 years ago, today as I give this video. And it's been that way for a few hundred years. People can't see it because they're in the prison. Hands are on the bars. They were born in the prison. God bless. Share, share, share. Get it out there. Link's going to go up in the title. Bye now.